Freddy's activities aren't confined to the United Kingdom. He's quite involved internationally. Between 2007 and 2008, he organised and administered an independent anti-Trotskyite campaign in backwoods Michigan. I think this is an important contribution. I don't care what you say. Those backwoods Trots in the Great Lakes region of North America, they're a menace. And who was standing up to them? I wasn't doing anything. It was just this Trotskyism across the Midwest and in Michigan and places like this was going on. The Trots were spreading their activities. I wasn't doing anything. I knew it was going on. I didn't stand up to it. Freddy was. He was conducting and running this campaign against it. So this is a man of action. For 4 years, from 2009 to 2013, he used programming and linguistic expertise to write programs to combat UKIP smearing in mainstream media, papers, online comments sections. There's obviously been a lot of UKIP smearing going on there. I mean, these MSM outlets, they spend their whole time smearing UKIP. Step forward Freddy with his programming and linguistic expertise to fight this. But I'm not quite sure. But I don't know about these things. How you can write a computer program to combat UKIP smearing. All I know is UKIP smearing is getting out of hand. And I can tell you, after UKIP lost to a monster raving loony party in the recent by-election, the UKIP smearing has got seriously out of hand. It really has. We have never been in greater need of Freddy's programming and linguistic expertise to combat this. I just want to read this again because it's very important. Freddy used his programming and linguistic expertise to write these programs to combat the UKIP smearing in the mainstream media. When success in this resulted in redundancy, he joined UKIP. And there's something wonderful about that. He's beavering away writing these programs in this struggle against the UKIP smearing. And when somebody, I don't know, possibly at the horticultural company or some other company where he was working, took issue with this, he said, well, I will accept redundancy. And let me tell you something else. I'm going to join UKIP. And I think, yeah, good on him. Good on Freddy. Let us proceed now to Freddy Vachha's education. Freddy is a man of deep and wide learning, though you'd never know it, really. He wears it very lightly. He never makes a big thing of it. But the fact is, this man is extremely well educated. Let's just go through some of his educational attainments. 81 to 84, he received professional training at Ernst and Winnie. And there's a bit here, post 89 T/O of AY. That I don't myself understand, but this is obviously professional training at the very highest level. We proceed to the Polytechnic, where a degree of high honours with distinction was achieved. In 78, Freddy found himself at Princeton University. It's not precisely clear what subject he was studying, but he was engaged in these things. I don't really know what they are. The GRE, he was doing that, and he was conducting the TOEFL here he studied very well indeed. He had 870 at quantitative, where 820 equals 99th percentile versus US graduates. Well, I don't really understand that. It's all Greek to me. But the fact is, obviously, he is competing with some of the best US students and outdistancing them, outsmarting them, that's for sure. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been offered admission, as he explains, to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They offered him a place. Harvard College, he was offered a place there. Stanford University, which is in California, I believe, and another California institution, the University of California at Los Angeles. He was offered a place there. He was offered a place at these 4 top universities. I mean, to get offers from, arguably the 4 best universities in the United States shows you're pretty much at the forefront. Now, sadly, I should point out that he had to decline these offers, the offers at MIT, Harvard, Stanford, and UCLA. He had to decline them due to a career switch. It is sad that Freddy had to, because of a career switch, pass up the opportunity to study at Harvard and at MIT. However, it does appear that Freddy did teach at both those institutions, because he indicates under his hobbies and interests that one of them is, as he puts it, liaising with my former students in Boston, Cambridge, that's where Harvard is, MIT, etc. So he must have had some teaching role at MIT. Maybe it was number theory, or possibly he was a lecturer in physics at Harvard. It's not actually specified, but it's clear that he did have some teaching role in America, because he spends a lot of time liaising with his former students from there, probably giving them a bit of guidance. Let's move on. Freddy's been involved in mathematical research all his life, especially number theory. And he was at the University of Bombay, where he was studying for a doctorate. However, I should point out also that this doctorate was put on indefinite hold, and this was due to a career switch. Freddy has high honours in physics. He achieved another degree from St. Xavier's College. Freddy seems to have several degrees. He had a degree from St. Xavier's College in Bombay. He achieved 100.0% in the practical exam. That's 100.0% in the physics practical exam, which is a record. Nobody at St. Xavier's has ever achieved 100.0% in the practical physics exam. Freddy did. But he wasn't just immersed in his studies. He had time. He had the breadth, you see. He had time for extracurricular activities. And he lists them. He was team captain for general knowledge for a period of 2 years. Chess, 2 years. Debating, 1 year. And needless to say, Freddy was the recipient of many awards and prizes. Finally, he received prizes for the inter-school science and debating activities, and in densitometry, he scored 175 plus at the supervised IQ tests, college, Mensa, and that's to say these were well above the 99.999th percentile. And then his games, well, he has always been a great games player. Chess, twice collegiate, thrice a British Mensa champion. Describes himself as expert in contract bridge. He is proficient in karate. Skating, both. And finally, TT, which stands for table tennis. Freddy's employment. There is a wealth of experience revealed in the CV. This is a person who's been operating at the top of global business. Of that, there is no doubt whatever. Freddy indicates that he was chairman and managing director of the UK arm of Florensis, which is one of the world's leading horticultural companies. Between 2009 and 2016, I believe they have their headquarters, the UK division has its headquarters in Chingford, which is a suburb of London. Florensis is one of the leading participants in the horticultural sector. So to actually be able to chair an active business like that and also have the executive role, the chief executive role or the managing director role, to do that and at the same time to be active politically, it's quite hard, you know. You've got to be pretty together to do that, and that's Freddy. And while he was doing that, you know, while he was running that company, he realized that he was a day trader on the London bourse. He targeted a range of global companies, but most interestingly, he reveals that he competed against what he describes as the casino banks. And that, I think, is laudable. I don't know what he did, but possibly with his day trading, he succeeded in manipulating the share prices of various lenders. I don't know. But it seems that global banks that acted without proper scruple became the target of Freddy Vachha's day trading activity, which he conducted from 2009 to 2016. So we're talking about 7 years of very active day trading while holding down the job at Florensis. But that's not all. Freddy has, for 3 decades now, been one of the world's most celebrated tech entrepreneurs. And he lists his various achievements in the field of programming and other activities. But the thing is about serial entrepreneurs, business people who have genuine talent and inspiration. They can shift from one sector to another, and Freddy has moved from the tech sector to support services, financial services. He trained as an auditor and worked for one of the world's leading firms of accountants in the Philippines, in Hong Kong, Chingford, and various other places around the world. He's the author of a number of books. These are works in progress. Epping Forest Walks, the Greatest Bloodners of the World Chess Championships, Nazi Germany, Belgian Congo Holocaust. Now let's take a look at what Freddy, with all his energy and skill, has been able to bring to UKIP. I mean, just look at it. It takes up an entire page. The sheer volume of achievements. One is in awe of it. Just to take a few at random, he explains that he was engaged in healing UKIP London from the wide-ranging effects of his predecessors. Polite as ever, isn't he? Really, what he means is clearing up the ordure deposited by his predecessors. He's just too bloody polite to say it. Boosting member morale via periodic newscasts when others flagged. He points out that he has sent 1,500,000 emails. I mean, that's a lot of emails to send out. 1,500,000. I mean, how many have I sent out in my entire life? Probably, God, who knows? Maybe 10,000 emails in my entire bloody life. Freddy Vachha has sent out 1,500,000 emails, all for the cause of United Kingdom independence. And he goes on to describe some of his attributes. Solving problems fairly, with humour, getting the best from others, avoiding unprofitable conflict. I mean, that's the thing about Freddy. He's brilliant in dealing with people, in managing people, and people want to work for him. These are the qualities of a leader, of a true leader. He goes on, Nolan principles compliant. I mean, that's always good to know. What I think perhaps is even more important than this business experience, is Freddy's work as a teacher. I think it's true to say that there is something of Confucius about Freddy. He is a great teacher of men. And one of the things we find is that he was the co-author of Agrawal's correspondence courses. These are the celebrated correspondence courses that are now all over India. And Vachha was one of the co-authors. He's taught physics, he's taught mathematics, but I think his greatest achievement as an educator was to identify arguably one of the greatest modern talents in physics and mathematics in India, namely Joy Thomas, who has been described as the Einstein of Hindustan. Let me just read what Freddy has to say about his work in rearing and nurturing the talent of Joy Thomas. Freddy writes that he tutored Joy Thomas in 1978 to 79, who then stood first in all India out of 100,000 plus entrants at the 1979 IIT Joint Entrance Examination, scoring 100.0%. I'll repeat that. 100.0% in both physics and maths I taught him. Okay, so I mean, I'll just read that again because this is quite a considerable achievement. Tutored Joy Thomas in 78 to 9, who then stood first in all India out of 100,000 plus entrants at the 1979 IIT Joint Entrance Examination, scoring 100.0%. That's 100.0% in both physics and maths I taught him. Now that is something that Freddy has a right to be proud of. Let's look at his hobbies. Breeding koi, collecting and restoring old 1932 to 1965 precision 35mm rangefinder cameras, growing ultra hot, more than 1 million Scoville units, chilies, prestidigitation, World War II history, speed reading, politics and current affairs, travelling, especially in the Himalayas, watching movies, and he has collected 5,100 films. He is fluent in 4 languages: French, American, English, and Hindi/Urdu. He states modestly that he is conversant with German, Gujarati, and Italian, but he says it's very limited. But I mean, knowing Freddy, his German is probably pretty damn good. I mean, he for sure, Freddy could order a beer in German, at the very least. But talking about beer, Freddy states that when it comes to booze, he only ingests alcoholic beverages if socially called for. And that's important to note. And as for tobacco, he has only ever smoked 2 cigarettes in his entire life. On the matter of convictions, county court judgments, cautions, and so on, he was nabbed for speeding, received points. I don't know if this is connected with his campaign against what he calls the UK's pervasive anti-motorist regime. But in any case, as he says, this was a quarter of a century ago. He adds that if people ask, is he a boring person? His reply is, never, ever. one of the things he did was to analyse 49 crucial commons divisions to rank MPs by the degree of their egregious betrayal of manifesto pledges, so as to cut away support for PM, Theresa May, to force her resignation. And that's something that a lot of people forget, that Freddie had quite a big part to play in the downfall of May. You know, I mean, of course there were other factors, but a big one was Freddie's work in helping to tear her down and to force her resignation for the benefit of the entire country. And then there's his charitable work. He's something of a philanthropist, actually, Freddie is. He explains that he is motivated to assist others with 15 plus years of free, pseudonymous work online to help those who face financial, motoring law or science-related difficulties. Yeah, that's the motoring law again. I mean, he is opposed to what he calls the UK's pervasive anti-motorist regime. And what I like about him is he's always there to help people who face motoring law difficulties. And he goes on, placing into the public domain self-authored material to free victims of cults, and this is the really important thing, to refute cunning propaganda. I mean, it's all very well to just simply reject cunning propaganda or repudiate it, or rebut it, but Freddie's the man who can refute it, and I think that's what you need in a leader, especially when you've got this UKIP smearing, this circumambient UKIP smearing, and this propaganda of a low cunning, in some ways of superb cunning, and it needs to be taken on. It needs to be refuted, and Freddie is definitely the man for that. What is Freddie's lucky number? Well, it is 7. Freddie, during his time at the London Polytechnic, where with greatest of ease he secured a diploma in accountancy, he won 7 merit-based scholarships. He has, in the course of his career, been the editor of 7 journals. He has distributed 213,000 leaflets. 7 of them have been generics. And he conducted a self-funded 7-month campaign against what he describes as the veteran MP Ian Duncan Smith, Con, Secretary of State for Works. Freddie's conservation work. He has saved Epping Forest from fencing in, Leighton Marshes from building over, and he has applied to UNESCO for World Heritage Site status for a unique Empire Hill station founded in 1850.